Okay, Nisha, we're live.
Hi, hi.
I am exhausted today. I don't know why, but
Sorry, I'm trying to make the volume go up. Yeah, you are exhausted.
yeah, must be just old age. Okay, so so what's been going on with you? You've been having troubles with your internet, beach erosion. Uh,
Stop.
is it all under control? No,
No, we are light years away from control. We are just going with the flow.
with just the smallest amount of socialization, it's like it's chaos. You know what I mean? Just like I have to cook dinner for four people. I'm like too much. So yeah, so today we have actually we had this topic planned for quite a few weeks ago, and then we
Yeah,
decided to and then we missed one week, and then we decided to just do a
the reflection on the kids' workshop. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, and so we're gonna go back to that topic, which is called
yeah.
Nature RX. So RX meaning prescription. That means this idea that nature can be used in a prescriptive way, in a real health way. And so I kind of want to bookend the conversation on two articles, which I will link to here, which actually read on Substack, which is what triggered this idea of having the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, One of them is called Being a Neuroscientist Doesn't Make You a Wellness Expert, which actually it was a very critical piece about some other Substack writers
Right.
who the author is a neuroscientist, and she was really calling out this other neuroscientist
Mm,
for adding what she called science garnish on wellness woohoo, which is
right.
really not the lane of a neuroscientist.
Yep.
They're not in the business of wellness.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
I guess, in the general understanding of it.
Yep.
So, she, Tommy, Tommy, wait, what are you doing? Um,
Cute.
so I thought that was quite interesting.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, uh, at the other end of the scale, there was an article called, "Can Trees Really Fight Depression?"
Mm,
Uh, which is by Kate Howlett, who is someone I also really like reading on Substack. And
mm,
she's really talking about a study that's a real deep dive into
yep.
what is the science saying about
Right.
wellness. We hear a lot about an increase in wellness if you're spending more time in nature,
Mm,
um, but the science around it, maybe the data or the proof of the pudding
mm,
has been slow to emerge, and this is actually quite a big one. It's I
mm.
think it's 10,000. The study is
Right.
of 10,000, and then the other thing is that instead of, like the happiness index,
Yeah.
which is quite interesting,
Yeah.
but the happiness index is just a self-evaluation. How happy do you feel on a on a grade or whatever?
That differs
This,
from person to person. It's very hard to equate what you consider happiness and what I consider happiness because we have different values of gratefulness and
sure,
godliness or
yeah,
spirituality, which
and
also
that could be different
influences. Yeah,
culturally or geographically.
yeah, yep, yep.
Some
The
countries,
weather, the sun, how much sun you get. I was very under, and I understand why they call it under the weather. I was under the weather in the UK
yeah.
during the autumn
Yeah.
to the winter. Yeah, I was
I mean,
under.
I was at a this sort of convention where he was the sort of key speaker,
Uh-huh.
and he defended it. He said, "Who else is better to say I'm happy than the person who's feeling it?" You know.
True.
So I mean,
Yeah, but when you
she's
make
not
it
wrong
index,
either.
it is
Huh?
measurable against, the
Yeah,
the population.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So the difference between that and this is using mental assessment, by by psychologists. Psychologists assessing patients.
Yeah.
So they're real, what do they call them?
Neurosciences? Scientists? No. Therapists.
Oh, it was actually, what are they called? It was actually based on real diagnosis of medical of depressive disorders,
Right.
and then balancing it, and then they were using in their calculation of like
Yeah.
green space, they were using uh, satellite imagery.
Right. Right. Right.
So it's very scientific in some
Yeah.
ways. It's as scientific as you can get about this kind of a study. They're using real medical professionals to do the assessments, and
Yeah.
they're using uh, quite objective capture. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just yeah.
So when you look at this was a vegetation index, right? They looked at how much vegetation
I
per
think
square
so.
meter,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So when I was reading this article. This is about birds and DDT. Okay, and what the measure was to see that was how many birds of prey living in a particular area that was affected by DDT in its food chain. And over the years, it caused the thinning of the eggshells, you know? So if you can read bird health through the eggshells, then that, I guess that's the premise of how to read, people's mental health through the amount of green coverage based on its density. And I think that's the parallel here. Yeah.
Uh, okay, I actually have the correct terminology here. So it's basically so they're able to assess the greenness of a high 500-meter area,
Yep.
surrounding each participant's home
Yep.
using satellites, and then they're feeding in the mental health and sort of reading up, because there's this whole correlation and causation
They're using
issue.
Consec, basically, yeah. They're using
Yeah,
a
so I
Consec method
yeah.
for the population of
I
trees
recommend
in an
someone
area.
read this properly, so
Yep.
they're not relying on me interpreting it. But the basic thing is these are the two. These are the X and Y axis,
Yep.
and it's 95,000 people, which is huge actually if you
Big
think about
population.
it. Yeah, yeah. So you get a it's a good picture of it. Before we dive deeper into it, I just want to talk about what other kinds of science there is around this subject that we know about. Uh,
Mm.
one of them is actually I read a book about Shinrin Yoku, and I'll put a link to that
Okay.
by a
Yep.
Japanese doctor, and
Okay.
they're also actually studying it there.
Yep.
I read it quite a while ago, so I can't quite remember what the details are. But it is an actual study. He's a
Yep.
professor at a university, and they're
Yep.
trying to get data behind what they think is happening. You know,
Yep.
and basically what they think is happening is, from what I can can remember, it's two things. One is, there's this thing called restorative attention. That
Yep.
means when you're in nature, the your stimulus is so complex that you actually give up. You don't.
Surrender. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
surrender.
you surrender to
Yeah.
that, and in that in itself gives you some kind of
Relief. Yeah.
distressing. Yeah, yes, which is very
Definitely.
interesting, right? It's
Yep.
like there's so much trigger. Whereas in a city, in the
Yep.
grid, you actually maybe you're more animalistic. It's sort of a hunting prey kind of a mind thing that we are still harboring. There's that, and then they've added some new elements to it. For example, they actually think that the the odors, the essential oils released by like pine trees and stuff
Yeah.
like that, if you're walking through, actually
Yep.
have an effect.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't remember. I don't remember the actual statistics of the data that they were looking at to see how accurate it
I
was.
think
But
it
that
depends on the kind of forest. What's the majority plant species? Then you
yeah,
can estimate the VOCs of the plant. So if you're in a pine forest, if you're in a bamboo forest, bamboo forest tends to be more moist. A pine forest may have more essential oils.
yeah,
What you call that? Eucalyptus forest may also have a lot more essential oils. So there's a
yeah,
majority plant type. So
yeah,
when I was in Japan, one of the things that we were, because we went to Kyoto to spend a day at the like a Shinto monastery, and
Yeah.
one
Is
of
that where
the
the famous bamboo forest is?
yeah, they have a bamboo forest, with torii gates and stuff like that. So the bamboo forest is one, and torii gates is another, but that also has a forest around it. And so Japanese temples typically have what they call temple forests. They are like how to say protective shrine forests, because in Japanese Shinto belief, when you come into uh from the parking lot, you go through, you wash your hands and feet, and then you walk through the forest area, you cross water, you go into the forest, and you get to the smaller temples around the space. And that process is actually the nature RX for them. It's very
Mm.
spiritual, because they believe a lot
Yeah.
of spirits. In Japanese, it's called kami, and they inhabit these spaces. So if you carry good, it will be amplified. So you always
Mm.
want to, carry good into the space. And you're
Right.
very mindful of the steps that you take going up and down the shrine. And, trees are so different depending on the season. So I
Yeah.
think even when we did our
Figure.
nature forest bathing, I think that was something that was highlighted, right? Like to really see the trees and to feel the trees. And I
Yeah.
think that is part of the emotional um release, I think, that we don't realize. It's just the brain
You
kind
know,
of
I
processes.
wonder. I wonder if the spirituality part of it actually is scientific, if you know what I mean. I mean, it is this attention
I
restorative
agree.
thing where
Yeah.
when you go in, the smell, it actually works on your brain at a certain kind of a level.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
It would depend in a way that there's some science now where they're studying things like meditation,
Yep.
and they're seeing that the brain actually is doing very specific things
Yep.
uh,
I think
that can be.
even in Bali, around the big temples, they have like these sacred forests where you can cut the plants if you're using it in ritual, but you can't cut the plants if it's not for a ritual. So naturally, a lot of indigenous growth exists around the temple area. So maybe
Yeah.
that's part of that spirituality and that sensory element,
Yeah, I think also we are also spatially interactive. For example, they
Yeah.
say that when you go into like a religious, like a big house of worship, like a cathedral or
Mm,
a big mosque in Istanbul or something,
mm.
the minute you walk in, your eyes lift up, and you actually go through a shift in your, how you feel and how
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
yeah, like even your eyes lift up. I mean,
Yeah.
there is definitely a shift in your neurocognition, I think.
Yeah. 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 And I think
Yeah.
the same thing happens in the forest, because
I
in
think that's what
old
I'm
growth
saying. Yeah, I
forests,
think that's
they're
what I'm alluding
really,
to. Yeah,
majestic
yeah,
trees, and they
yeah.
look
I
very
think the
different.
forest is like a temple. It's like
Yeah, yeah,
a
yeah.
kind of a
I
temple.
agree.
Yeah. So yeah. So there's this. So there is actually a world of study happening in Shinrin-Roku.
Mm,
I don't know if you remember when we were doing forest school that
mm,
we were actually told that one of their breakthroughs for forest school was actually the forestry, the Ministry of Forestry in the UK
mm.
actually funded studies
Yeah,
about the what was happening to children or humans in nature, which is actually what gave the people who are trying to develop forest school some real data to work with. Do you remember
yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, so those are the two areas that I know of that are actually real. I mean, there are people actually looking into very specific things, and I keep reading small studies about how they are looking at how forest school is impacting mental wellness in children and stuff like that. I
Yep,
think I have a couple of them linked in some of my articles about playing in nature, and I think this can only increase actually over time, right? As it sort of gathers more momentum.
yep.
And obviously better search and AI is going to
Mm,
give you more access to this information to actually build a sort of a bigger picture about this.
yeah.
So, I mean, I think that so what I'm trying to build here is that there is a foundation being built for science, science supporting many of these. Well, were just ideas about how we need nature, how nature is good for us or helps us from a wellness point of view.
Yeah.
So that I think that's something, and we'll obviously want to keep track of this as we, as we go, because it is kind of our lane, you know.
Yeah.
And then sort of, for example, I like I try to I also try to combine walking with sort of not forest bathing because I'm not really actually trained in forest bathing, but a kind of awareness of a
Yeah.
nature walk that you're
Yeah.
actually just open to looking and actually capturing sort
It's
of what's
about
around you.
purposeful observation, I think.
Yeah, or
And
mindful, like
yeah,
a
yeah,
mindfulness, right?
mindful. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, so I like to combine the two because I think that's just something else. I mean, sometimes I see people think of exercise as something that has to be very demanding,
Yeah.
and where we're also seeing a lot of science telling us that actually just walking is really good
Mm,
for you. So I like this combination of those two things. So we definitely want to sort of build a little bit more information content around that area because that's
yeah.
exactly what we like to do and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And interestingly, as you know, I recently talked to the guy that actually is trained in forest bathing and took us and
Mm,
and we did a forest bathing session with him,
yeah.
who
Yeah. Yeah.
who has actually moved to your part of the woods. He's actually in
Yeah.
Chirati. So
Okay.
we need to connect with him
You need
and
to
sort
come
of
up. Could you come
yeah,
up?
yeah, right.
Yeah. Can you
Yeah,
come up?
yeah. That'd be great actually. I wonder if I could do it around February, around my birth, around our birthday.
Oh, birthday. Yes. Yes. Come. Come.
And see if I do a little bit of all that.
Yeah. So
Okay.
14 is CNY. Yeah. So keep the dates in mind.
What?
Chinese New Year's on the 14th.
Oh, is it?
Coming up very fast.
Mm. It needs to be after all that madness, then,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Because won't you be fully booked and stuff?
Yes, and I also have to go down to Lyman's family for a visit.
Right, right. Okay, I'll take a look. I thought it was nearer the end of the month.
It's the meet. Yeah.
Uh, okay, so that's sort of the sciencey end. Oh, one more element of the sciencey end is the other thing that about the happiness index.
Yep.
That year when I interacted with him, I can't remember what year it was. Was it 2019 or 2020?
Right.
Um, he was just about to publish that year's index, and
Uh,
he had done something different. He had actually put in another variable, which was about green space.
okay.
And he was saying that they were also finding a correlation between happiness and beauty of a green space. Not just green space, and not just any
Yeah,
old
yeah,
green
yeah. It's
space.
got to be aesthetically pleasing.
It's got to be, yeah, yeah. It's got to
Yeah.
have you've got to have a relationship
But
to the,
you think about what happened in the maybe late 17th century, early 18th century. You had a lot of these like uh I don't know when they built the what's that, the French one, the um Versailles
the
Garden.
Versailles.
Yeah. The British, flower gardens, the Persian gardens, the Babylon gardens, all these
Yeah,
gardens
yeah, yeah.
happened for a reason. The design culture of these beautiful, beautiful gardens were meant to make all these decision makers, the people who are in these positions of power, have that how to say, mental relief. Even the Chinese have those water bridge over water gardens. The Japanese have these kind of gardens.
Actually, yeah,
They have boats.
China is really getting quite good about building public parks that actually have quite a strongly, they're strongly landscape driven,
Yeah,
riverside, so that people
fun,
actually
yeah,
feel
fun cities and stuff. But I also like the fact that in the past it was landscape and only the privileged would have access to this. But I think it wasn't just aesthetic for the sake of aesthetics. It was also a form of relief, because if you watch like classical Chinese movies about, you know, that era, they actually, all the academicians, they read poetry and, you know, they write and they study their academics within those spaces. So I think it, although we're looking at it from a modern lens, I think it was something that they discovered was very important even back in the past, you know, because
Yeah, I
yeah,
think I mean, there's a parallel to here to like just food, you know, like
you're right.
it wasn't a science before what your great grandmother cooked, but it
Yeah,
was scientifically good for you.
yeah, 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 yeah,
You know,
yeah,
now we actually need science to tell us that turmeric has blah 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 that can actually do this.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
before it was just part of the culture
Yep,
to fry your chicken with a little turmeric, you know. But I think it's a bit of that. I think there's modern life has sort of shift us from what may have been a more normal understanding of all these things,
yep,
and now we actually need science and studies to tell us, hey, go back there,
yeah,
or
yeah,
fix
yeah,
this. Or it needs to, and actually in Malaysia's case, it actually needs to be the data and that we people like us can go back to the people with money to say,
yep,
hey, you need to spend money on doing something like this.
yep, 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 yep,
Yeah.
yep,
Because that's how the world works now. We actually have to prove that this is a thing. This is
yep,
this sort of matters. Yeah. So we will keep on top of this and keep collating the information.
yep,
I just a side note on that.
yep.
I went on a rabbit hole on about the new updates for Notebook LM and Gemini.
Okay.
Do you use those at all? Okay, I don't. I
Yeah,
don't either.
no,
Okay, I don't either. I mean, I'm always being prompted to use it when I open Google and all this kind of
right, right,
stuff.
right. I mean, that's
And
part of the socialization of the idea, right?
yeah, all I've done is maybe I've done some research. I liked ChatGPT's browser. It's
Right.
actually I, even till now I find like just the way it's looking for things and
Yeah.
organizing the information. I kind of like it. But my timeline has just been full of all these updates. It's like apparently it's like well, two things are happening. One is the the main thing actually people forget is part of the update. It's actually your ability to use what is already there. That means they're giving you more free access.
Ah, okay.
You know what I'm saying? So that's a big difference. It's like before you can only have this, now you can have this, which you had
Yeah.
to pay for before. So now you're
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah, 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 yeah. As they
I
as
can
they
use that.
move the paid staff to
Yeah,
higher quality, they release
correct,
a lot of better,
correct, correct. So that's a
older
that's a
study,
tip.
older practice. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing is then they're also getting better. So
Yeah.
I kind of I sort of followed up on this and actually did it, and yeah, I'm kind of blown away because before I don't know about you, but I just basically using it as just a better search engine. Instead of me going through a lot of
No,
stuff.
it filters, it
Yeah, like
because
I'm
of the
allowing it to
intelligence, it
filter.
filters it down. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's getting smarter about the filtering. It
And it
actually say,
also
oh,
has a memory of what you are typically
it's
looking
smart.
for.
Yeah, it wants
Yeah.
to know, hey, do you want this in a summary? Do you want this in the table? I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, I do.
I mean, the
Right.
machine
Yeah.
has learned it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So now you have this ability to actually start to store your searches in notebooks. That's what Notebook LM is.
Okay.
Okay. So not just your searches, but any of your data that you've collected. Maybe I have a PDF
Right.
about a book or I have an article that I care. So I can put this all into a notebook, right?
Okay.
Then I can have another notebook with another kind of thing. Maybe it's so one notebook's actually about nature, another one is maybe about science, neurocognition. Well, okay. I can feed those two notebooks now into Gemini. So Gemini is I don't know if I'm using all the right terminology, but it can help you write things, it can help you create things and stuff like that. So
Right.
I can ask it to now. look at my notebooks and write based on what I've been researching into a 1,000 word thing. And I can go in and take a look and see whether I kind of like it.
Right, right,
Right.
right.
Then the third thing is in Gemini, you can actually create something called Gems, which is an app. You can create this app.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to create an app on writing style. So I decided I will create an app, give it a prompt about how I want it written.
Okay.
So what I like, what I found is, and it's also the later thing I want to get into is, have you read like Malcolm Gladwell stuff like
Yeah,
Blink
yeah, yeah.
and stuff like that?
Yep,
So
yep.
what he does is he does a lot of research. He reads a lot of academic paper and
Yeah,
stuff, and then he writes it in a very narrative style
yep,
that is easier to consume by a general reader. So he's a good writer in that he's able to pull in this information. He's also uses certain sort of tricks to make it a lot more exciting, just the
yep,
way
yep,
he does it. And
yep.
in that kind of style has now sort of created many other writers who do this sort of thing because that is our world. We live in a world where we're trying to get data to prove our points, research to back up our what we're saying. We're not just saying stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, if I could build this app that said, "Can you now write it in this style?" It
Right.
wasn't great. It wasn't great, but the fact that this is after like maybe I haven't looked at this uh AI for about a year. I haven't really fooled around with it for a year. Who knows what the hell it's going to be like in a year's time from now? You know,
For sure,
think
leaps
of
and bounds different. Yeah.
I mean, maybe these apps are going to be really. Maybe I can ask it to study how I've written something based on that style and rewrite something in my style. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Kind of
I'm
fascinating.
sure if you're already allowed to load like notes and a notebook,
Yeah, yeah,
and it can read even your previous articles, then I
yeah.
think yeah, it can mimic you quite
Yeah,
well.
I mean, simply because it's not just searching the internet, it's actually searching your curated
Yeah.
material. That
Yes.
means you already put a point of view on
Yeah.
the things that you're showing them. So I think okay. So that's the sciencey half of it. Now let's go to the other end where there is this complaint that and this
Neuroscientist.
yeah, I mean I'm not completely all the way here
Mhm.
because I have to say the complainer is a neuroscientist, and I get how she is finding it. Like she struggled with another neuroscientist because she said at first I was like, oh great, another neuroscientist doing this kind of work. But when she looked at it, she was like, oh, she's trying to sell supplements.
Right.
She's also coming up with stuff that isn't really science. It's not really. It's woo woo.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's just wellness stuff. But that stuff sells really well.
Yeah, yeah.
So one of her target criticisms was this guy called Andrew Huberman,
Mhm.
and he's a professor of neurobiology at some big university, but he's selling supplements.
Right.
So uh, there is this kind
Commercial
of
element that
there's a
they
worry, yeah, yeah.
yeah, that they
At the
hide.
worst level, there's the Dr. Oz of this world also doing that, you know. Or even what's the other one? The guy that used to be on Oprah's thing.
Which one?
Um,
Dr. Phil?
Dr. Phil.
Dr. Phil.
He's also another one that sort of kind of took a left turn somewhere.
He's a bit much lah. He's quite intense.
Yeah. So what I thought was quite interesting is this notion that from her sort of neuroscientist point of view,
Yeah.
uh, I mean the parallel would be, and this is something I know a little bit about is actually when I've been looking at sort of uh, wellness of my dogs.
Mm.
There's a bit of a disconnect between what vets, that very sciencey vet that actually, and then there's a lot of information that also includes a lot of misinformation and nonsense on the internet.
Right, right.
which is considered more natural, you know,
Mhm.
and there's a little bit of a disconnect. And one of the problems is actually one real problem is actually vets, just like doctors, are actually not trained in nutrition.
Yeah.
They're trained
And
in very specific kinds of nutrition. Like if you've
yep.
got this illness, then you actually have to eat this.
Yep. Yep.
But it's
Yep.
not like a holistic
It's not.
nutrition one,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah. I
general
think even
health.
human doctors are like that.
Yeah, yeah, I think it is. I just don't know enough about it to have a point of view. But I do know that's a fact, and because there was a lot of material that said, vets actually only take 2 hours, 2 hours of training in nutrition, and a lot of their funding comes from food manufacturing, kibble. They sell kibble in their offices, in their veterinary clinics.
Like, yeah. Sorry. The plug point is dead. It's not charging.
Yeah, so there's a conflict of interest there because they will poo-poo your idea of a homemade diet or raw diet
Yep.
because they just don't want you to move away from this commercially manufactured,
Yep.
very big company, billion-dollar industry of pet food, you know,
Yep.
which a lot of times is providing scholarships for vets and funding for research and so on and so forth. And so there's quite a bit of conflict. So you end up having to learn about better ways to feed your pet through more, just, I mean, you could get lost along the way while you're trying to do that and go down some
Right. Right.
crazy
Right.
path. So, so yeah,
So
so,
yeah. So with my experience with my cats, I think I read barf diets and I saw how
hmm,
technical it was to eat for them to eat raw. And then as a pet owner, I felt like I spend more time thinking about what my cats are eating than what I am eating, and then I have a conflict. And then I'm like, okay, I'm
actually,
just gonna boil chicken.
cats are more difficult. Cats are
Yeah.
more
So in
difficult.
the end, I boil chicken for them. So their dinner is boiled chicken. So that's like quite a lot of natural food, and then they have
Yeah.
kibble, and that's where I can hang my hat in between the two. And I think sometimes people get too deep into it and then it becomes very religious and it's very hard to
Yeah.
do anything else. So
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
when we talk about and we come back to the whole forest
Or
bathing,
just wellness,
yeah,
and
and wellness,
neuro
yeah.
cognition.
I
Yeah.
feel like sometimes people are so caught up with the idea of nature being wellness that so I think you've heard of rewilding, right, where they want to
Yeah.
go and spend time in nature and stuff like that, and then they become a little bit too much. And I think you must know where the middle lane is, because
Yeah.
then you start to do things. And you remember there's that documentary about that guy who went to live in the wild and then he died because he ate
Oh, he died. Yeah, he got
poison.
killed. Yeah, yeah, that was a
Right.
disaster. So,
So he
yeah.
had some existential crisis going on, and he thought
Yeah.
going into nature would solve it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, but not to that extreme.
Yeah.
So I think nature
But yeah, but
sometimes get
at the same time, we are also experiencing something at the other end of the scale, which is, we have no control of how our cities are being built, and we are
yeah,
actually thrust into extremely unnatural environment,
yep,
and which are actually affecting us. There are
yep,
studies about stress levels in cities,
yep,
mental wellness, suicide, all that stuff is
yep,
real. I mean,
yep. It's real.
that is a real problem. And I think that is something to navigate as quite complicated because I don't think people know how important that mental
Okay,
wellness
I
is.
had so I knew this batik block maker many many years ago. He's passed away since. He passed away just after COVID. He used to live on the shores by one of the cities in Kuala Terengganu, and he used to. So he has to have a wooden house. Underneath his house is where he does all his batik painting and block making and stuff. When he feels hot, he'll just go for a swim. He'll go pluck some vegetables. He'll make his lunch. He will put up the nets for
Hey,
the
I have to
fishing.
make a very quick call. Sorry. I've
Okay. Yeah, I'll just keep talking. Yeah, and then he would he would continue painting and stuff. And that was his life for many, many decades. Then the government moved him into a low income flat where he was living in a very confined space and just a lot of walls. And really, what he said at that point, he lived there for maybe like 5 years. And the fact that he was living in a square cement box was draining his creativity and the joy of what he was building, drawing, painting. And like what you said, the aesthetics of a place actually gives you that well-being. So, and I think that he lost the aesthetics of being by the sea and the nature around his little hut. And that really killed a lot of his creativity and joy. And so, yeah, definitely build landscapes create a lot of stress because everything's so solid, when you're outdoors, everything's moving. Like if you can see the tree up here, this thing is moving, right, in the wind. And I can see your hair flicker as the wind is blowing and the trees behind you are, do you get what
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean? It's a soft
yeah,
landscape. But if
yeah.
you just looked at the wall ain't gonna move, the wall's solid. So that's I guess that's part of the the hardness of what is bouncing back at you. So if energy and sound vibrates, when it vibrates against something hard, the feedback is so much harder as well. So yeah,
Right.
doesn't go through it, which is kind of like what I'm learning with seafront wave management. Because as the
Hey,
waves hit
so
the
on
shore,
that point, do you
yeah.
find because you're exposed to a lot more nature than you were, Gail? So are you finding something different?
Not really, because everywhere I lived, whether I lived in TTDI or lived in Bangsa, both houses were right up to, in TTDI, I was one street away from the park. So I could see the trees in the background, taller than the houses, because I was facing towards the park. And then once in Bangsa, I was in a small housing area which were just covered with trees, with ironically tall buildings poking up the back. So yeah, I've always been living around highly, you know,
Nature-filled spaces,
yeah,
yeah.
nature filled spaces. Yeah, I guess in some ways it's a privilege, lah. I mean, you've been to both houses. You've been to TTI. You've been to
Yeah.
Bangsa.
Yeah, it was quite nice around there.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Um, sorry, I
Yeah,
made
even Bukit Damansara, there was this big like green space in front of where we stayed.
what in your last place? Yeah, that was really nice too.
Mm.
Your last place was very nice.
Mm-mm.
Um, yeah, I'm just I'm trying to clean up a mess I made earlier. One of my clients normally orders 7 boxes,
Uh-huh.
and today only 6 boxes. And
Okay.
I had some left over for lunch. So when it came to packing the packet, I just put 7 boxes in,
Right, right, right.
and I
It's
realized
extended.
one of the boxes is for somebody else. So
Uh,
now I'm madly trying to
recover the box.
I've recovered the box, but now I have to arrange someone to go pick it up from them to send it there.
Send it to the other person.
Yeah. Quack, quack, quack. So okay, so yeah, okay. So the other thing is I understand the concern about, if it's misinformation,
Yeah.
but did you use this terminology about science garnish? And actually
It's gone.
I don't know if it's such a bad thing to have it garnished with a little bit of science, because I find, don't you, when we are dealing with everyday folk,
Mm.
it's hard to convince them of stuff unless there is a little bit more.
I think
Oh,
it's the intention. I think she's talking to the intention of the information that's being put out there.
yeah.
To say
I mean,
that
she's alluding.
every tree will give you a sense of happiness, with what context? I think that's the question. So you can
Yeah.
garnish that for a tree that you're selling as a product. So I'm selling this tree, and only this tree will give you this amount of happiness. Being lame and simplify. I'm just flattening the conversation.
Well,
But yeah, I think that was a concern, that you would do something in the name of sales, for the intention of sales, using nature as the
yeah. So
metaphor,
what she's
and
saying
then
is,
using the science pull out.
what
Yeah.
she's saying is traveling down this lane.
Right.
It's more populous. There are more people interested in it.
Yep. Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
so there's personal gain to be got out
Yep.
from it. But I don't hate if it's bringing more people into this lane. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But
Yeah.
it's like
Mm.
because
I
some
guess
people are
once you
just
get in
not.
the lane, you may come in through the wrong channel, but
Yeah.
if you are genuinely interested, you will eventually filter out all the noise and get down the preferred path eventually. And I think
Mm.
the distance you travel will be the value that you gain out of it. Yeah, because some people just do it for a while and then they're out, and some people keep building their knowledge over time, and that becomes the ones that you refer
I
to.
guess the criticism is a bit like saying, do you remember like the Jerry Springer show?
Okay.
Do you remember that when they just bring on people to fight and stuff like that?
Mm,
It was just to create eyeballs. It was. I
yeah.
mean, I watched it. It was so
Yeah. Yeah.
it was so compelling from just a car wreck kind of point of view. And in some ways, that's what Dr. Phil was becoming.
Yeah. Sensationalization, huh?
So the only difference was he's a licensed psychiatrist.
Yeah. I think he popularized the what gaslighting,
Um,
narcissists, and then when he started talking about it, you're hearing it all about we're hearing all these things for the
right.
same
So
first time.
so actually what
Yeah.
you're also learning some terminology that is
Yeah.
relevant
Yeah.
to
But
the
if you don't
subject.
research, you don't read further about it, then you will be left with that first impression of what you thought it was. And if you
Yeah.
and I think that's her point about garnishing it with science. Yeah.
So that's where I'm not I don't completely hate the idea of someone, you know. Okay, so they sell a few supplements, but along the way, they're actually also
Doing good.
creating some awareness or some shift. Because sometimes people can shift quite dramatically after one small change. Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially on wellness or just like how you're pursuing life. Sometimes it's a very small spark that can actually create a difference in your perception of things.
Right.
Uh, and not to take away from the more sciencey thing, but the trouble with the sciencey stuff is, and I know this too, it's hard to get people to read stuff like that. You know,
Yeah.
people just
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
want to get bogged down with
Life is
you and I
complicated.
are
Yeah. So they
you and
only
I are a
want to
bit
read the
more
heavy stuff.
nerdy. You
Yeah.
and I are a bit more nerdy, and we're more inclined to read the stuff. But there's a lot of
Yep.
people that are not inclined to read the stuff. They will just look at it and go, "Oh, that's too long." You know,
Too long.
yeah.
I
That's
watch
why.
her
That's
videos
why.
and well, too complex, and
That's
I
why
don't want
things like TikTok work so well. It's so easy on your brain. It's like eating a sweet. It's just like,
Right. Right.
and you actually use that as a kind of a point of entry for maybe something a bit more valuable than it. So
Yeah.
it's hard to say. Uh, I mean, and the other thing is also the world is moving really, really quickly
Yeah.
around. Like this whole AI thing. I mean, I'm just lost with all the choices that you can make
Yeah.
in terms of which AI should I use to do an image,
Yeah.
or a video or a little sound clip, or it's just so many. Uh,
Mm.
then the pricing and then the other thing which I've been burned on because I've been doing a lot of content, with my gardening blog and stuff like that. What's happening? What happens with this is you'll do this stuff, and then that platform will disappear, and you might lose
Yeah.
that. You lose that content, and then your computer also crashes, and then
Yeah. Yeah.
before you know it, you've lost.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
yeah. There's no security in it in the long, long run.
yeah, so there is so something's going on with like just the having to navigate all of this and trying to figure out how this fits into how
Yeah.
the work that you are doing is kind of complex, right?
Yep. Yep. Yeah. I think for the most part is the openness to explore new ideas, because when something changes, you don't really know if it's for good or like less. and you just have to kind of like play with it for a little bit and then make a decision, an informed decision based on that. So I guess when you talk about like nature RX, then yeah, unless you're going and trying to rewild yourself, I think you're pretty okay because it's like dosing, right? How much do you walk?
Yeah.
How much do you hike? I used to hike every weekend with Elaine. I don't hike anymore, but I walk back and forth between the villa and
Okay,
the.
you raise a good point because actually it's a lot of information. Are you supposed to do 10,000 steps? Because that
Yeah,
also is shifting all the time,
yep, yep,
right?
yep, yep.
Because the data on that keeps shifting. Before it said you got to do 10,000. Now they say actually you don't. 5,000 is good enough. Or what age are you?
Yeah, yeah,
All
yeah.
these things. This is not in any kind of easily understood
No,
resource
you
that you can.
cannot have a generalized dose, and I think that's why 10,000 steps became the generic dose. Because your age, your gender, your general health condition, ability to walk without pain, all this contributes to how much you should push yourself. What are you consuming? Where are you living? Is it hot? Is it cold? Because access to this type of walking exercise, yeah, someone could walk on a treadmill, but walking outdoors is so much better than walking on a treadmill in some ways. So there's a lot of variables in that sense, and yeah, then that changes what's suitable.
Yeah, actually, a few years ago, I was reading something about treadmills and how there is a difference in your workout if your treadmill actually has an immersive video.
Ah,
If
okay.
you're actually navigating a natural scene,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
actually have a better workout.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
this is also constantly changing. It's like
Yeah.
pretty.
So it's not just physical, it's also mental and very subtle. You don't really can't tell the difference, but the quality is
Yeah,
different. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, the other thing about this is, and this is something that I kind of I struggle with to figure
Mhm.
out what to do about is, a lot of times I know what is the right thing to do because I live in a city that was quite, New York City is actually quite good. It has quite, even though it's quite built up and quite dense, there's a
Mm,
lot of nature in it. You know,
mm,
you walk 20 blocks and there's a small park for you to just walk through, have
mm,
a sit, drink some water, and carry on.
mm.
And then there's also very big parks like city parks and stuff. And you can also walk. You can walk a big part of Manhattan,
Yep.
whereas you live in a city like Johor Bahru or
Yep.
LA or San Francisco, you got to get in a car to go to get anywhere.
Mm,
So I saw firsthand what it's like to live in a city that it actually works really well for people,
yep.
you know. And even though walking is good for you, it's
Yep.
exercise. You're walking through nature, kind of nature.
Right.
Uh, it's socially also very cohesive. There's neighborhoods where you
Yeah.
build a lot of relationships with shops and restaurants and
So
stuff
this
like
is
that.
something interesting, yeah. So Elaine sent me this like 2 days ago. It says that when you meet people who are your people, like you're one of my people, right? When you meet one of your people, it
Yeah,
actually boosts your happiness index. So
I totally agree.
because like we used to hike so much every weekend, right? So she's not
Yeah.
just my people. We're also in the forest. So it was like a double dose. I really miss that. And after not doing it, I really feel the difference. I mean, it was fun doing it, but when you are not doing it, you feel the difference. So yeah, having
Oh,
your people and being in
did
nature.
you answer my question about? Oh, yes, you did. You said but isn't this much more natural than say PTDI where you are now? You are exposed to a lot more nature. The beach and salt air and
So romantic like you.
no,
Because I feel like the difference is this. Here I'm on the job, right? So when I'm walking
maybe
up and
maybe
down,
maybe that
I'm
sort of ruins
checking
it
out.
a little bit because it's actually work. Yeah.
Yeah. And then there I work indoors. And when I go outside, it's just me and
Ah,
myself, and it's like I'm enjoying it. I'm literally enjoying it. you know? So I think it's also your mind space. And recently I read something about when you are angry and upset and you eat, what you eat doesn't digest very well the way that if you are calm. And so yesterday I was really pissed off just before lunch and I just couldn't have lunch. Also
Mm.
because I knew that, yeah. So then it's just like, oh my God, yeah, I just couldn't. So yeah, I learn new things every day. I try whatever comes up to me and yeah. So yes, this is a job. And as much as it's a beautiful place to be, I need to
Right.
be in the mind space of appreciating the nature to gain the value of that
So what
space.
can you do? Can you take like a half an hour walk in the evening and say, okay, this is my time. I'm gonna now enjoy this, like the way people who are spending hundreds of ringgits to come here to enjoy. Or you cannot. It's
Maybe
too
in
close to.
2026, that can be the bucket list. And at the moment, we're not there yet. Could be something to look towards and work towards for 2026. Yeah.
But I totally get what you're saying because I did this with Edible Park and I spent
Yeah.
more time on it. And
Exactly, right?
quite frankly, I freaking hated it at times. It was
Right?
such hard
Because
work.
it is
Yeah,
not just the hard work, it is the frustration,
yeah, yeah,
expectations, other people's expectations. And so the beauty of where you are is totally
yeah,
lost by all of that. Yeah.
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 And I remember, like, and it was so stressful because it's like a big project.
Yeah.
And then, we would be caught in the rain. And I
Mm.
remember I broke my leg. And even when I was getting better, I had to meet a contractor and to walk so far that I actually fainted at the end of the walk because it was just too much. But,
Yeah.
I'm quite driven, so I just had to do it.
Yeah.
And I did it. And like my poor assistant at the time, poor guy, he went through like so much having to just deal with me, not being able to deal with, you know, all
Uh,
this. So, yes, I get it. I get it. It was
yeah.
not, it didn't feel like, oh, I'm in paradise.
Yeah, because your function is
Yeah.
not holiday maker. Your function is, manager, organizer, people pleaser,
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually get a lot more enjoyment looking at my dogs enjoy nature. Suddenly you look at them
Yes.
and go, heck, these guys, they really know how to live. They're just lying there, soaking up the
Yes.
sun.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
I can see that they're moving to all the coolest parts of the house where there's a
Yes.
little bit of a breeze and there's a little bit of,
Yes.
I'm like, man, they really know how to live.
Yes. So my cats go out and they want to go out at specific times. Like the rest of the day, if the door is open, they'll be inside sleeping. But at like, dawn, yeah, dawn and as it gets dark in the evening, sunset, they want to go out. They want to go out and they want to go catch bugs and they want to
Yeah.
go strolling because it's cooler. I don't know. It's their circadian rhythm or something. They just need to see the sun
Yeah.
go away or the sun come up, and they're so active at that time. So I usually just wake up, open the door, let them out, and then in the evening, if I'm around and I'm not too busy, then I let them out and then I'll call them back in. But my cats come by whistle, so I'm not too worried about them going missing. So
So let's finish off on this RX part of it, which
mm,
actually says, if there a medical professional is going to say, okay, here's your prescription. You need to spend 1 hour a week
yeah.
taking a walk.
No, that's
I
why
don't think
Forest
what,
Scoop was so cool
yes,
because the
true.
idea was
True.
we would be
Exactly. It
the
was a
one
kind of, yeah,
creating the space for the kids to go and
yeah,
find that space. Like your kids recently, the ones at the refugee children, all of them like the time in nature.
yeah,
So in that sense, you were the uh activating agent for
yeah,
their
yeah,
nature
yeah.
exposure.
And to just connect it with a bit of science, there is data that shows that if they are actually doing uh, studying and work in nature, there's a better consumption of knowledge.
Yeah.
There's actually some studies about that. And it's not only like new science, it was actually considered like you would deliver, you would talk to someone and work through stuff on a walk,
Mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? Rather than in an office at a meeting, it's like maybe you would take a walk and do that kind of stuff.
But also a lot
But
of
yeah,
people
so
think while they're moving, right? So that works as well.
yeah. But just to go back to the RX thing, I think we're a long way, especially here in Malaysia, where a doctor is more likely to say, here's some Valium or here's some sleeping pill, right? Rather than
Doctors
say,
need
you know
help
what,
too.
you because also they don't know what they're not reading up on this kind of stuff, right? They're
Yep,
not
yep,
really
yep.
looking at it. So
So
in a
I
way,
wonder, remember you were saying that there's an AI that helps doctors find,
yeah,
solutions and cures. So I'm
yeah.
wondering if Nature RX is part of that inventory,
Wow, that would be hey, that's a great idea.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. If Nature RX is part of the
You why didn't you do it? You're smarter than me in this technical stuff.
I have to go look for the article that you sent the last time. Yeah. And see if it's even possible to search that.
Okay, I'm gonna send you the video. There's so many videos right now because they're all going, whoa, Notebook LM is blowing my mind, blah 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 blah. Because it's a double thing. Notebook LM and Gemini, and they're two different
Okay.
things
Okay.
that are and then now you're offered different levels of entry.
Right.
So the free is what used to be pro, that kind of
Ah, yeah, yeah, yeah. The
so you're
push to
getting
the
more access. So you suddenly your ability to use this kind of tools is actually really, really high. So
You
yeah,
know
that
what's
could be
interesting?
interesting.
The
Yeah.
hornbill ate one of the kittens. There's a small kitten about this big, and the hornbill picked it up and took it off.
Hey, nature can be quite savage, right?
Hey, hornbills are very ganas. Yeah,
Really, yeah.
they're quite. Yeah, yeah, yeah. When they are carnivorous, they will like snap at anything.
Yeah.
But I
It's like
also
my
think
dog.
something wasn't the best
So
for health.
Layla will kill a cat. She will.
Layla, she's got a
The other
cold
two,
shower as
the other
well.
two, one will bark at them, and the other one, like Tommy, will just look at it, like what's going on, what's going on, Layla will be, you know, her prey drive, the whole thing is like just on. I've actually saved the cat from her because she was really on top of it. Yeah, so gotta be careful with that. Hey, yeah, but on that last point, I think that could be really interesting. So maybe it's if we're not actually able to connect it all together, maybe we should start building the data and
Mm-mm.
the knowledge
Mm.
into the notebooks and into
Yeah.
because that's kind of what's going on now. There's a value in storing because that's the other thing. I mean, you look at stuff and it's actually quite hard to say, oh, I'm going to file this under. There's so much information coming at you
Mm.
that you don't even get around to just filing stuff.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, I have to an article had to really, really. So in some ways, this is really valuable having this podcast because it's
Yep.
forcing me to go back and look at it and talk about it with somebody.
Because we're extroverts.
I'm not an
It's the
extrovert.
thinking process.
I'm not an extrovert. Maybe you are, but I'm not.
You're thinking out loud.
I'm like Tina, an opportunistic omnivore. I'm an opportunistic,
Extroversion. Okay.
yeah, extrovert. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I only
I'm
see
not,
your extroverted side. I don't see your
I'm not,
introverted side.
I'm not an introvert. Like I don't like shy away from people, but I like spending time on my own.
You're right.
It's different from
Where do you
feeling
get your energy from? Is it from people or from time on your own?
I enjoy time on my own more.
Okay.
But I'm also quite social and I enjoy being social.
Right, right, right.
Until, of course, I don't enjoy when it's too much and I'm small talk and it just feels like a chore. And then it's too much. And I
Right.
definitely enjoy when it's with people that I like or I can communicate with, and we actually can have some talk and banter and
Yeah.
humor
See,
and
this is why walking and talking is a good thing. So
yeah, I
much
guess.
distraction.
Yeah. And then nature as well, right?
Yeah. I really like that walk that we did for dinner the other day with Susan. I think that was a nice walk.
That was quite a long walk. I was like struggling towards the end of
Then
it.
work up your appetite and then work out
Yeah,
all the
it was
food
a
that you
long
ate.
walk.
Yeah, that
Yeah, it
was
was
a
a
long
long
walk.
walk. Yeah. In fact, if there wasn't like a reward at the end, dinner, I would have been like, oh my God, what are we doing? It's like, it seems quite long. Yeah. But it was also long because the week had been quite demanding.
Yeah,
It was just
it was a
really,
long day as well. Yeah,
yeah. But yeah, I do enjoy that. And,
but that was our Nature RX because that
yeah,
was
but
kind of
even,
like digesting the whole process and seeing
Yeah.
the landscape change a little bit since the last time we walked that path. Yeah.
But even like the day to day, for example, this is my off. I mean, when I have meetings, I will have a meeting in a place like this.
Right.
So the mood is different, actually. I mean, I also know what it's like to have a very corporate meeting in a Fortune 500 company in a
Yeah.
closed room
Yeah.
where there's a lot at stake. It's a
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
different,
Yes.
uh, thing altogether. So there's definitely a difference. So I'm also more purposeful now. Like, if I'm gonna have a meeting, I'm like, okay, we're gonna sit outside, the fan's gonna be on,
Mm.
we're gonna have a fermented flower drink, and it actually will all connect
Yeah.
so that when we talk, it is
I would say it's
connected.
curated lah.
It's connected, yeah, yeah, and connected to what I do and
Yeah.
why we're doing it and stuff like that.
Yep. Yep.
So, okay, I think we are up at an hour.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, so we just wanted to talk about really this is like what's going on out there.
Yep.
Um, and I wanted to say, and this is of interest to us. These are actually the bookends for our lane. We
Yep.
are in this lane.
Yep.
We are, information in this subject area that is data driven, science driven,
Yep.
helps us create value in our workshops and stuff like that.
I think
Uh,
measurability is really important for us as well because that's what people need to figure out where they are and where they can go with it. So measurability is always a good,
yeah.
nice to have. Yeah.
And then we also have this new challenge of actually turning into some kind of content where people can get into it. So it's which is sort of related to it. It's not just walking and it's just not just walking and talking. It's also being able to read something online that it fits into what you know is the world we're trying to create as well.
Yeah.
So just the topics that we choose, or maybe at what level. I mean, like I've said before, I think if we get too nerdy, we sort of lose people as well.
Mm.
We can start to kind of you know, and then if it's too basic, it's also maybe not so interesting.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
So yeah, it's also about
I think
finding that.
it'll be good at some point to have, like, if we had a topic that we're gonna talk about and people could ask us questions about it, like before we got on, or like we can circle
Yeah,
back
I guess.
every few episodes and people can ask questions. Then we just have an episode where we just talk about those questions that came in,
Yeah,
because that's what we did for Dawn and the clothes thing, right? How to pick,
yeah.
yeah, ethical clothing. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because I mean, part of it is also our popularity. I think once we are get more popular, then we can actually this can have a live chat, which is
Yeah.
actually how the world is working right now. People are streaming and people are commenting, and you say, "Oh, there's a chatter here. Wants to ask you this question." We're just
Yeah.
not there yet in our
Yeah. Yeah.
value profile online just yet. But I guess we'll get there at some point, hopefully. Um, okay, so what are you doing on New Year?
New Year's. So tomorrow, the guys who host our breakfast, they will have ringing in the New Year's like gathering. So people just
Oh,
sit.
okay.
So that's
Okay.
that's kind of still work for me. And then I'm supposed to like assist the guy who's a DJ a little bit. And then on the second, our friends will gather at my place. So Vanessa runs to like tepi jalan, tepi pantai. She and her boyfriend Arnold will be there. Lyman's around. Khalid, one of the guys from the cafe, is coming. My mom, my brother, Elaine, maybe one other person. So it's potluck. So people are just gonna bring whatever they want to bring.
Okay.
And then Lyman's
I
making
had
quesadilla.
I had Shamala and Susan over for Christmas.
Right.
It's not quite small. I was so late. Usually I can do 6 to 8 people,
Yeah.
but and I was like about to get on my phone and call two more, and I got four, and I was like, if I did four, I'd have less to cook, and I would just have like. So I did four. I just couldn't rustle myself to, but it was nice. We had a really kind of because nowadays cooking for a bunch of people in Malaysia is
Mm.
actually quite challenging.
Where?
Hindus, Malays,
Uh,
people don't eat this, people don't eat that, vegetarians, to
chicken and
construct a
fish.
meal. Huh?
Yeah, chicken and fish.
So to construct a meal for 6 people,
Yeah.
you can be guaranteed I have to make one adjustment.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Somebody's a vegetarian,
I mean,
somebody
for us,
can't
it's
eat this.
pretty okay because, like, yeah, there's gonna be no pork, and then everybody else eats everything else, so we're okay.
Yeah, but nowadays you can't just put pork on the table and say, "Hey, don't eat that."
Yeah, 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 yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I mean? It's like,
Yep, yep.
yeah.
So when I
And
go
then
eat, right? Yeah,
I've Hindu friends that don't eat beef. I've
yeah,
Hindu friends that don't eat pork. Actually,
yeah,
a lot of Indians actually
yeah.
it's more of a cultural than a religious thing.
Yes, yes.
You know.
Um,
Um,
but when I go to Lyman's house for Chinese New Year or anything that his family serve pork, his aunt will typically make me the same dish without pork. It's like effort, so much
but is
effort.
that dish on the table? Is that dish on? Yeah, is the
Yeah,
pork on the table?
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
mean,
I mean, it's
strictly
their home.
speaking,
It's their home. I'm the
yeah,
visitor.
strictly speaking,
Yeah.
that should be okay. They're not making you eat it, right? Which
No,
is
no,
actually
no.
where
Yeah,
the
and they
haram
will.
kicks in.
Everyone will tell me this one got pork, this one got pork, this one got pork. This is yours. It's like, yeah, they're really sweet about it, lah.
I don't get that whole like I can't. I remember going out for dinner once, and this guy was had a Muslim wife,
Mm,
and it was like a big Chinese dinner, and there was a suckling pig.
right.
She just made such a big fuss about it. Don't Can you
So
turn
cute
it
though.
away? Like, just don't look at it.
Yeah,
It's
you're
like
not gonna eat that, so it's okay, lah.
no one's making you eat it. Yeah, that is the issue. The issue is if you ate it.
Yeah,
You know,
you're not. So
but that's how Malaysia has changed. Malaysia's just changed.
effort.
Yeah. Now they just you can't even. And actually, I get a bit upset when people ask me if it's all right to eat this, and I'm like, of course it's all right. You think I'd invite you to my house and give you something that's not all right
No,
to eat?
because I think I think our level of ethics and hosting is very
Yeah.
different from a lot of other people who are doing it, and how sometimes unthoughtful they are, and people get
Oh
caught
my
in
God.
it. Like,
Actually,
you know,
that's funny. That's almost like a show, isn't it? Oh, there's pork in there. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, don't eat that.
Hon Bin, can you see? You missed it. Two big ones.
Okay, we gotta go. We're
But
running.
okay,
We're running late. Okay,
all
good to
right.
talk to you. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.